Milan Tronona Royasan shot to Shikorbosh the Yutoshi Gruma. The evening here is dirty and wet, so what I want to do is continue working on this. The underslung exhaust silencer has got very noisy, I noticed lately, and it seems to be getting noisier to the point where I'm wondering, is it silencing at all? So I have two options. Again, a new silencer. That silencer used to only be on a Ferguson 20 diesel. So I don't know why it's gone so bad, but I think I'm going to take it off and I'm going to chance this on it, I think. I've been doing a bit of work, as you've seen in the videos up to now, on trying to seal it up a little bit. If it needs a bit more sealing, I do have a bit of this. I want to try and save this exhaust because I think it has a bit of age to it, except it's way too high when it's on for my door. But since it's so dirty and I can't bring any fill in for the extension, I may as well go and just do a dry run of fitting it, putting the clamp on it and seeing if it's glórach, no, if it's cún. In other words, to see if it's very noisy or if it's quiet, and also to see is there any more little holes in it. I did have to make a few little repairs to it here and there when I used to use it, when I got the tractor first. It was like a heat wave here for 3 weeks. I had it parked out there in the earlier videos. It was too hot to work in the shed here. So this, of course, wasn't causing a problem being too high because it wasn't in the shed. So what we'll do is we'll take off the heat shield, take off the underslung exhaust in one piece, and we'll have a try at fitting the vertical exhaust and see if it's a bit or any of an improvement. I would imagine it wasn't. To be honest with you, after I did the cylinder head on this tractor and the valves, I put the underslung exhaust on it, so I don't really know what the vertical sounds like on it since the engine work was done on it. And for those that mightn't have seen any other videos before this whole manifold got every face on it machined flat. So this face, the face meeting with the cylinder head and the carb face. So that was all machined flat in a milling machine. So, and it was all new gaskets fitted. So, and I had to drill out the studs in this manifold because they were just baked and rusted, and I had to retread, and I put in these longer bolts. I can always cut the end off these bolts or even put a nut on them, a washer, and tighten them up, stop them. And not that they're going to get loose, but just to take the bad look off them. But again, it's usually covered by the heat shield anyway. So. And I prefer to have bolts, in this case, a bit too long, I don't have them too short, because I like to be able to have this good and snug. But I did notice lately that this underslung exhaust is just, it's really loud, and if you're driving up the road and you hit a hill, it's where there's no silencing going on at all, and I think it should and could sound a lot sweeter. So I'll probably get a new silencer just to rule it out of the equation, but at the same time, since it's such a dirty evening and I'm working on the vertical exhaust, this few beta 3 of Wintos and exhaust data, it'd be worth trying to do an exhaust. Because it is nice to be able to listen to the engine. I still am trying to tune into the sound it makes and to see if my playing around with the time and it's helping. The tuning of the car, it's nice to be able to hear what's going on and not just a big loud exhaust noise. Yeah, so I threaded these fine thread, so there would have been coarse thread originally, so there's a lot more twisting involved on the ratchet, but it does make it stronger. That's the only thing. And with the heat involved in vaporizing kerosene, you know, and the heat shield, these do get fairly baked into place, so it's no harm taking them off. The soot smells of burnt kerosene. So we will get it all right, and eventually we'll get our door to the shed tightened up. I don't want to go doing that until I get a bit of help with the extension. That's the last few threads there now. Takes a fair bit of twisting in these long bolts. Get them off. Come on. No, I think this gasket, a bit of it started falling out there. So we might have to get a new one, but I think I have a lot of them. Jeez, it didn't last very long before it started looking a bit burnt, and I can see we're a bit of a leak on it there as well. So I'd say that's most likely on this end here, on the actual down pipe. Because I had a bit of fun trying to get that flat. Don't think the quality of metal is in it at all, to be honest with you. So what I'll do here now is, but this is not going to be staying on here for long term, because I'm not taking it off every time I want to drive in and out of the shed, especially when it's hot, burning the kerosene. That's the last thing that I'm going to want to do. So we may as well get a different gasket and give it every chance possible. It's a nice thick one there. I have flattened this fairly well already, so it should be good enough to seal, I think. Serious metal in it. Okay, so I suppose fitting it won't be hard anyway, that's for sure. There's a lot more metal on this than on the underslung down pipe anyway, that's for sure. It's a lot thicker. And these bolts are actually a size bigger than the studs that would have been in it as well, so it really is going to be well supported. And that should all help it seal a bit more, should all help to compress that gasket, keep it sealed. Not necessarily a modification that I would have done on it, only for I have to drill out the studs. That's usually what I have to do, even on the Ferguson 20 diesel ones with the U-bend. They just get so rusted in place. So the interesting to see now is this sleeve that I made out of the beam tin going to do its thing. So I'll come back when I have that buttoned up, and try fitting the silencer. So that's the U-bend on, and that's the underslung exhaust off. I remember spending a lot of time trying to get this sealed, where the silencer goes onto the pipe. So our sleeve is in the actual silencer itself. We should be able to just rock that over a bit and twist it, get a nice grip on it there. We get our metric, so we get our 13 spanner and give that a snug up. Geez, it is very high. But then again, the height and the length of the pipe, of course, is just helping to silence it that a little bit more, I think. So it would be lovely to have the door high enough to be able to use this. So that's all I'm going to tighten that for now. We'll do a cold start. This exhaust, as I said, hasn't been on the tractor since the work was done on the head and the valves and all of that. So it'll be interesting to see how it sounds. And I did a bit of work on the silencer as well, as you see in the earlier videos. So, petrol. Straight away I can see a bit of a leak out this already. Now, some of the work I've done, I probably could have blocked it up too much, and literally just experimenting. Okay, sounds a lot different. I don't know what that one smells a bit rich. I can smell kerosene. So I obviously didn't have it turned back onto petrol long enough last night. Okay. Smells a bit like kerosene now. And we're out of petrol. That explains as well. And I bought petrol today, I just forgot to put it into the tank. So, but by Jesus, that smells like pure kerosene there. So I'll go and throw us up a petrol in it, and we'll have a listen to it again. It definitely sounds a lot different than I remember it anyway. So when I buy my petrol, I go into Halford's, it's Canny and Budale and stuff. I'll buy a drop of this, and it's just a leading substitute. So there's a gallon in there, and you read the instructions, and it says 1 milliliter per 250 milliliters. That's a quarter of a litre. And in that is, so we're talking 20. So I put in 20 mil of that, at least. I prefer to put in too much than too little. That's just what I do. So a few times in the video so far when I started it up, it does that belching and spitting. And that's usually a sign, I suppose. I keep forgetting sometimes to put petrol in it, so I think I remember, especially when I bought petrol for today. It's usually a good bit of starter now if I was touched. It should be enough just to do what we want to do. Okay, so take two here, put you over this side here so you can hear the exhaust. It did kind of belch out a big black smoke, lump of smoke there when it started, so I would wonder if this is sealing. So you're on getting hot, I can tell you. I suppose if it was a cooler exhaust, a diesel engine maybe, it'd be easier to put your hand over that and see if for a leak. She's leaking in the back here, and that's little line there, that's split. So what I have to do is continue getting that fitting down a bit further, that's all. But as far as the exhaust sound goes, it sounds nicely baffled, silenced. And I'd say when it heats up, it might sweeten up a little bit as well. It's just very, very high. It does change the look of it, I have to say. Nearly prefer the underslung. And I tell you one thing, you can really appreciate the heat of these when they're actually, when you're standing right beside them. That heat off that already is unreal compared to the likes of your diesel over here. You wouldn't put your hand on it for very long. Yeah, so we're leaking away fairly bad down there. I'll just give the throttle a bit of a rev, sharp rev, and see what sort of sound we get. Yeah, it does sound an awful lot different. Interesting to see what it'll be like when it's at full temperature and on kerosene. It's already starting to come up a little bit there. By Jesus, the heat off it is something unreal already. I want to just go around all them joints, see if there are any leaks. In and under there, I have the JB weld for in under there if I need it. It won't need to be seen if there is any leaks. I think I have to do a bit of work in there already. It's not leaking there. Well, what we can do is just give them a little nip, find these heat up and they get loose again. You'll have to nearly be the whole time tightening them. Still leaking away there, good up. Yeah, so it's just going to be a matter of working that down onto the sleeve that I made and getting that leak out of it. Sounds like it's running fairly well. There's no spits and farts out of it anyway. But the problem with this exhaust, of course, as I said, if I wanted to bring that now for a test, take it off. It's hot, so you're holding it with a rag. You get outside, you're putting it back on. Bit of a nuisance. So I might just reverse it back, drive it forward with a bit of pressure and see if it's around. loud enough now, so I'm just turning it over there to kerosene. I'll just put the heat shield back on it. That'll help it burn. But I suppose, as I said already 2 or 3 times, the heat off that thing is fairly fast. And I obviously didn't notice it with the underslung because it was down so far. Okay, that's a no-go with the silencer on, so it's no bother. I'm not going bending it. So that's probably now running on kerosene there now, I'd say. We're up the temperature. Sitting there at 650 revs. I think that sounds like it's running fairly nice. Since I don't have the heat shield on, you can put a little radiator blind on it like that, and that'll just help keep the water temperature up. So the thermostat hasn't opened yet. It'll come up a bit more and it'll then shoot back. That's usually what it does. The first time anyway. But I have to give it to it. It sounds really good. Really good. But again, the heat off that is just amazing. If it was a cold winter's day, I tell you, and you were driving slow in a field and the wind was coming towards you, that would nearly be like your source of heating. So I find that the first time that it opens, it comes right up, and now it's sort of opening. Go down, that's letting cool water in past the temperature sender. The wax in that little line is just contracting because there's cool water going past it, and now it'll build up again. Not very efficient the way it actually drops so much, but that's how it works. Mad, it's up to temperature now, and it does sound a lot quieter. And of course, it's not far from the roof, so it is going to be reverberating off it a bit. But still, this yoke on a good bit of revs and that exhaust going up a hill, it's still a bloody loud. It's loud. So I'd say what I'll end up doing is buying a new silencer for the down exhaust, a new vertical silencer, because they're only about €25, just to have them there and to play around with them and see what sounds best. I think that's what I might do. And I do have an underslung pipe for this down pipe, so I could put on that silencer if I wanted. Here's the underslung pipe. This is for my 20 diesel. This was on my other 20 diesel actually for years, until I did up the engine. So that could go on there, and that is different than the TVO one or the petrol one, because it has this bend in it. Whereas the TVO one has a far less severe bend. But the annoying thing about putting this system on the 20 diesel is the silencer for it is only really for a petrol TVO engine, so I found it never sounded very nice on the diesel. That's what I found. And you can't put a normal one on like this, because this is way narrower than your standard vertical exhaust U-bend. So there are the options. There are the options. Or you could put a standard, you can make a sleeve for it and put a standard exhaust like that, a vertical exhaust, and just cut off the end, because this is a lot shorter of a silencer than the likes of your standard vertical exhaust. So I have to give it to it. It sounds nice, ticking over. But it will be interesting to see what it'll be like going up a hill with a transport box full of stones. But I'd be happy with how it's running anyway. I think that sounds nice. Water temperature sitting around what it needs to be. The revs are just around 600, and that should be enough then. Probably not charging fully. Charging now anyway. But yeah, that's what we need to do. So maybe this bit of heat might help just reform that a little bit. I might be able to get that sitting down a bit snugger and get that leak out of it. Up here at least it does feel like it's burning well, it's level, it's not spitting and farting and missing, so I'd be very happy with that. I think that silencer sounds very good, as in it sounds the way they probably should sound. So we'll turn it back to petrol. And what I find is when you turn these back to petrol when it's up to temperature, it starts vaporizing the petrol. So that, you know, the amount of petrol going into the engine is actually less. So like sometimes you nearly have to start giving her a bit more on the main jet. But it's only just to get petrol back in the line, so I'm not fussed. But interesting. I haven't heard it with a vertical exhaust in well over a year. And I do think it sounds better than the underslung, unless that is just full of diesel soot, because the tractor I had that on needed an engine rebuild fairly badly, and I'd say it's sort of filling it full of soot, and I don't know how you get that out of it. But still, it's interesting playing around with these things, because they do drastically change the character of the tractor and the look and the sound. And it's not fumigating me in here as much as the underslung would as well. Now let's see, are we pulling a bit of petrol there yet? You see it at the top, if it is. You can see the kind of clearer colour. So what do you think? You've heard it in the videos. You've heard of it running with the underslung. You've seen what it looks like with the underslung. You prefer it with the vertical? You prefer it with the underslung? We can take off our radiator blind now because we're only burning petrol, so we don't need to be as fussed about vaporising that. It'll let out the odd spit now as it's vaporising the petrol, but I'd say that's definitely on petrol now. And then I always try and turn off the fuel because your float valve, needle valve above the float, can be a little bit, get a bit of dirt in and stay open. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Still prefer the look of the underslung. But anyway, a bit more work to do. When it cools down, take it all off and get that sleeve sealing.